All right, good afternoon. It's June 4th, 2024 at 3 o'clock. Time for the Uintah County Board of Commissioners to have a meeting in the Commission chambers. We will have a prayer by Sharmane Gull and pledge by Derrick Jaramillo. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, if we go any further, make sure you silence your machines. If not, mine will go off. Okay, we have approval of the minutes on May 20th, 2024 work session, and May 21st, 2024 meeting.
I would make a motion that we approve the minutes as presented.
Second.
Call for a vote?
Aye.
Aye. All right, Mr. Wilkins, report of warrants.
Commissioners, I have two sets of warrants today. The first one is May 24th, amount of $222,832.20. There wasn't anything out of the ordinary, just the monthly contract payments was included in that one. Next one is May 30th, in the amount of $272,071.07, and just normal bills on that one also. And there are no claims today.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any tax matters?
I have the next thing on the agenda, but I haven't.
Certified list of claims. Jumped one.
Oh,
I didn't have any, no list of claims today.
Oh,
That's what he
you
said.
knew that. Oh,
I
okay.
thought I was losing my
Oh,
mind.
all right.
No tax matters?
Nope.
Okay, we'll go on to 2024 May tax sale ratification.
Commissioners, notice was given that on Thursday, the 23rd of May, 2024, at 10 a.m. in the Uintah County Commission Chambers, the following parcels located in Uintah County were offered for sale at public auction and sold to the highest bidder for cash under the provisions of Section 59.2.13.51.1 Utah Code Annotated. Tax serial number 041180031 was sold to Dalton Hackford for $47,500. Parcel number 060240221 was sold to Mike McCackney for $928.57. Parcel number 140160096 was sold to David Davis and Caden Davis for $36,000. Requested at this time that you approve the tax sale as was held, and at which time we will then issue tax deeds.
I'm sorry, I missed the first tax ID number. Would you please?
4118 and 0031.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay, do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion to ratify the May tax sale as presented by Mike Wilkins.
I'll second.
Call for a vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. We have Mr. Jones here. You're on. Consent to entry agreement for the Fish and Wild.
I can probably just cover this one.
Oh, come on, I want to get
Mr.
him
Chair.
up here.
I know.
He looks bashful.
I know. He asked me yesterday, he's like, am I gonna have to do a whole presentation tomorrow too? And I said, no, we probably covered it all. So let me just introduce this if I can, and then present it for consideration and a vote. So as you're aware, commissioners, yesterday Tildon Jones from U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service attended our work session and described the work that is being done down on the White River by the Ignacio Bridge on some property that the county owns. It is, I just lost the name, pit tag. There's a pit tag monitor down there where they're keeping track of various species of fish, and that information is being uploaded into U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service database, which then goes into the management protocols and other activities that they do with water systems and the state of Utah and other partners. So this is a renewal of the consent to entry agreement that we've had in the past. Same terms that were described in yesterday's work session. It runs through the 31st day of May 2039, and then there's an option to extend for another 15 years as approved by the Uintah County Commission in a publicly noticed meeting.
Okay, any questions?
Comment, that was quite interesting presentation, Tildon. You know, that was quite, didn't know you could do things like that, but that was great.
Yeah.
Okay,
I would make a motion that we consent to the entry agreement for the Fish and Wildlife Access renewal till May 31st of 39, as has been presented.
Second.
call for a vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you.
Derrick, you're on.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Derrick Jaramillo on behalf of the Uintah Conference Center. Super excited to be here. First off, I want to introduce to you, it's my esteemed pleasure to introduce to you two of our new hires that we have recently acquired at the Conference Center. So if I would please have Richard Bland stand up and be acknowledged. Richard Bland is our newest night attendant, and so if any of our patrons or anybody here or our citizens of Uintah County attend any events in the evening, they will have the opportunity to work with Richard. Please note, though, he is in no way bland as far as his last name is concerned. He does really well with art as far as even like sculptures and things like that. So he is very, very artistic in that realm. Thanks, Richard. Also, we have Sage Horrocks here. She is our newest housekeeper / maintenance tech 1. And you can find her when she is not at the conference center riding our horse, and you will also have the privilege of seeing her in our rodeo as it comes up, as she will be part of the flag parade. I'm not sure quite what the introduction of the flags when they ride on the horses in the rodeo in the arena. She's part of that, and so she's been practicing that in the evenings, and so you can find her on her horse when she's not at the conference center. So those are our newest.
At Chamber today, they said they were one short for the bareback riding. Would you be interested?
One short in the bareback. Perfect. I think she can handle that. Okay, that's all as far as new hires that I have on the agenda. I do want to take this opportunity in a public forum to recognize some of the things that have been happening at the Uintah Conference Center for your attention, and also those in attendance here and those that are viewing via YouTube or whatever. But for our general public's knowledge, we are going to be coming up on our 10 years of being open at the Uintah Conference Center. And that's a super exciting. And our first event was August 8th, 2015. And I believe it was the 1975 class reunion. I think Carlene Haslam put that together. And that was the first event that was held at the conference center. And since then, we've had many, many more. To give you an idea, we are currently sitting... I'll give you a breakdown per month. January, we had 29 events with a roughly estimate. And like I said, these estimates of attendance is an estimate. It's hard to try and quantify how many people actually show up to the events, but we have a pretty good idea. January, 29 events, 3,349 in attendance. February, 23 events in attendance, so we had 6,235. March, we're looking at 31 events with a total of 6,892. April, 32 events with 3,980. May 31 with 6,953 events. So currently that gives you a total of 27,409 in attendance with 146 events to date. I just kind of wanted to give you those numbers just because that's kind of where we're at, as we're almost halfway through the year. We're looking really good so far. So it is being very well used, and we are accommodating and meeting that demographic base as we share it with community and other people that come in from out of town. So to give you those numbers. Also, I failed to bring it, and Nona's probably going to kill me because I asked her to print it out. But there's been numerous comments made from people coming out of town about how well the building looks and how well they are received by the staff. And so I just need to give kudos to the staff members that are there, that they are doing a phenomenal job in representing the conference center, but also representing who they are as people and what we're trying to accomplish as a collective group down there at the conference center and as a county. I think the county is being very well represented down there at the conference center, so you can feel confident that that is happening. So thank you.
Can I say one thing to that?
Yeah, go ahead.
I let Tracy know in a meeting we had with the department heads and that, but I wanted to let the public know that during the, now I'm going blank. I went to the
Trails,
dinner.
probably Trails. Was it Trails?
It was when they had the group out at Split Mountain. We ate dinner out there.
Mm-hmm.
And there were people coming in from Rhode Island and Carson City, Nevada that I sat with at a table. And the Rhode Island gentleman commented on how friendly the staff was. He had to have his stuff shipped here beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, usually they won't accommodate that. You have to figure out how to
Oh.
put it somewhere, what to do with it. But you guys were really good to work with him, store it till he got there. And he said when he got there, it was right there ready for him. And he was very impressed with the level of service, the facility, and everything that we had. So I thought it was great.
Perfect. Thank you. And I appreciate that because we did forward that message on to the rest of the staff in our current training meetings. And so
Good.
that message was
Thank you.
received. You're welcome.
I was hopeful that would happen.
Yes. Yep, it did. Any other questions before I move on to the next item on the agenda? Nope. John, can you do this one for me, please, since you helped Tildon out? I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
Yeah, Tildon has better looking facial hair
Yeah.
than you, so.
Okay, I'm going on like a week, man, and I can't get mine to where yours is at, so.
I can cover this one.
It's up
Because
to
we talked
you.
about it in work session again. So, commissioners, it's kind of by way of information, but I think I will ask for a motion just so if staff at the conference center get questions on why they're requiring a certain amount, then they're able to say, well, it was approved by the county commission, and that will save the staff from having to answer those types of questions. If you'll remember from our conversation yesterday, there's been changes in state law regarding how much a government entity can be sued if an individual is allowed to sue the government entity under the Governmental Immunity Act. So in simple form, the amount that we're advising that this insurance requirement form be updated to is $3.5 million. Right now, the current amount sits at about $3.2 to $3.3 million, and it will be reevaluated in July. So we put a little bit of a buffer there because the way the statute is currently written, they analyze it every 2 years and see if it needs to be increased, or I guess if you have depreciation, it could be decreased as well. But we're fully anticipating with inflation that the amount will go up because the cost of everything is higher than it was 2 years ago. So that's the form. If there's any other questions after yesterday's meeting, I'm happy to answer them. But if we could get a motion on that, just so we have formal adoption of it for the conference center.
And it is good to know because this does pass on to the booking agent or whoever is setting up the event that it isn't necessarily the conference center, but they do have to take into consideration that cost as they're trying to set up and set up their event. And so it is good to have that out there. So, because it is, 3.5 is a sizable amount, and trying to get that covered can be a big expense, so.
I know there was something brought up about the county carries so much And then do the promoters or whoever's doing it have to carry the difference, or are they carrying their own, or how does that work?
So, good question. This is only to cover if there's so if there's an event, a negative event that happens at the conference center, kid gets burned in some way, or, whatever, there's a rush for the doors and people get trampled. Any number of things could happen. We're going to look to the event sponsor and say, you need to cover that. That was your event. You're responsible for, the safety of the people coming to the program that you're putting on. It's not unheard of that plaintiffs will look for all the pockets they can. Whether they're deep or not, they'll initially just look for all the pockets they can and name them in a lawsuit. We will still say, no, that is your event, and we will do our best to get the county out of those lawsuits. But if we're not successful in that, we still want the event promoter to carry enough insurance that meets the liability requirement under the Governmental Immunity Act, or the cap that's allowed under the Governmental Immunity Act. We still cover indemnity coverage. It's not insurance, but we have indemnity coverage through our multi-county pool, USIP, where, essentially we're self-insured, but we do it through a pool, and then they have reinsurers, and that all goes through that huge mess. And if we get to that, we're calling Johnny Miller and saying, we need your assistance, and they're great. But having them carry their own insurance is to make sure that they are financially solvent enough to handle their own claims. Okay. And that then if somebody comes after us because of them, they have their own pool of money to cover that. So we don't have to dip out of our self-insured pool under USIP.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any further questions? Okay.
Excellent presentation. Thank you,
Yes.
Derrick. You did well.
Thank you.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a stab at it here. I'll make a motion that we go ahead and make a motion that we go ahead and make the insurance requirements.
Adopt the insurance requirement form as presented.
Just what I was thinking.
Okay, yeah, I'll second.
Okay, call for a vote.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Very good, thank you. Gennie?
Hi, Commissioners. Jenny Bird, Purchasing and Grants. I have a grant contract from the State of Utah Division of Outdoor Recreation for $25,000 with a county in-kind match of $34,834.36. The project total is $59,834.36. This funding's for the Uintah County Trails Coordinator, the full-time position that was just created. The contract goes until 2026, but the scope of work, this just covers 12 months of full-time employment, and then we anticipate reapplying next year. So I'm just asking for approval of this contract and electronic signatures.
If there aren't any questions, I would make a motion to approve the Utah Outdoor Recreation Grant Contract for the Trails Coordinator as presented.
Second.
Call for a vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Do you want me to sign that then?
Yeah.
Because I've got it on my computer. Yeah. All right, Sharmane.
I'm Sharmane Gull with Uintah County Attorney's Office. I was going to ask if John wanted to cover this one as well. No, I'm just kidding.
I've already put in my mandatory hours for the day, so I'm actually checking out over here. I got sports highlights going on right now on my iPad.
I thought there was something going on.
I don't.
Pull up the stock show highlights.
Okay, just so people were wondering, no, I do not.
I'm going to give a little background really quick. So in fiscal year 22, we did a full in-depth criminal justice system analysis and then created a coordinating council which sits on all the elected officials as well as the judges in the county and Defense Council, Public Health, with the hospital administration and behavioral health. With this council, we came up with a strategic plan that was required through the state of Utah to talk about all of the resources, and every county throughout the state has been mandated to do this. With that strategic plan, we came out with priorities of implementing a jail-based opioid program, which has been lifted off the ground. We've implemented a pretrial supervision program, which has been implemented off the ground. That went under a state contract last year, and the amount was 100% funded by the state of $450,000. For fiscal year 25, we did receive an additional $150,000 to implement the county probation program. So we are well underway of that project. I'm asking for consideration and with signature after approval that you guys approve the criminal justice services. The total amount for both programs is going to be $600,000 now, starting July 1st, 2024, through the contract with the State of Utah Commission on Criminal Juvenile Justice. Any questions?
You said that's all through funding? That's been funded by the legislature?
Yes, ma'am. Yep.
Ongoing, correct?
Yes, it's in the base budget. And with that being said, I will tell you, with that original $450,000, we were delayed on implementation because our state contract didn't go into effect till September. So with that surplus of unused funds, the state has allowed us to use that towards the construction project of the offices. They did just approve an additional unused dollars. In the end, the state's contribution to the construction project will be $250,000. So a lot of good support from the state to get these programs up and running.
I comment.
Yes.
I agree with you. The only thing that I've ever kind of worries me about these programs, the state kind of reminds me of drug dealers. They give you a free sample, and about the time you get running, they yank the carpet out from under you.
Yeah, I consider it like a tablecloth, yeah.
No, and I think it's a good program. I'm fully in support of it and stuff, but the only reason I make that mention is that 2 or 3 or 4 years down the road, they will wean us, and we will have to pick up the cost or, anyway, just my thoughts.
No, and I appreciate that consideration. And hopefully if I do a good enough job that we won't have to worry about that. Right now, we're the second county in the state that's been fully funded to implement supervision programs. So with that, I also want to add with additional money, the contract that I've been under Uintah County that went into effect December 1st of 2023 was for a year contract. It'll now be absorbed into this, so it'll abolish that contract and be replaced by state dollars. So,
I
good
agree.
cost savings to the county.
I appreciate your work. You've done a tremendous job on this, and it's all good. It needs to be.
You get worried about the
Well,
viability and
You can't worry
sustainability.
about it. You just
Yeah,
have to take it when it comes, when it does. That's it.
Yeah,
I agree.
we've all worked with Sharmane, and she has worked very hard and done a great job to help us get this program up and to look for our needs and address those needs as she works with public safety, with the commission, with the attorneys, with everyone, defense, everyone involved. So I think it's been great. I agree with Brad, that's always a thought. I think that's on us then to try to plan for that.
that is.
If that happens, we should have a contingency plan.
I agree. And the future forecast, I will tell you that the state, because of these pilot programs being very successful on the overall goal of lowering the recidivism rate, because that's where a lot of cost to the burden of the correctional systems, law enforcement, those high-paying resources, that they are going to be requesting $6 million to implement these programs statewide, because they've learned a lot from our implementation, what's working, what's not, and how to measure it. So I think with that moving forward, my hope is that we're not on the chopping block whenever they get to go on a bigger pool of money. Any other questions?
Nope. I'm not quite sure how to word the motion. How should we just need to John?
Just need to approve the grants.
Let's go ahead and I'll make the motion to implement the County Probation Program in conjunction with PreTrial Services and transfer of funding
As presented by Sharmane.
as presented by Sharmane.
Yes, and to go under contract with the state for
Go under contract
600,000.
with the state.
Yeah.
The motion?
The dates, yeah, they need to be in that.
Oh, and apparently the grant, though, just shows through 6/30 of 2025, from 7/1 of 2024 to 6/30 of 2025, so I guess that should be in the motion.
Time period, yes.
I heard that from you. All righty, and that's on both grants.
Yeah.
Okay, do I have a vote?
Aye.
Aye?
Aye. Okay, thank you, Charmaine.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank
Excellent
you,
job.
lady.
Very excellent. Okay. Mr. Matt, you're up.
All right, Matt Kazir with Community Development Office. Let's see, the first one here is a contract amendment for the Ashley Valley Watershed and Canal Piping Project. This amendment is for the canal portion of the project. So this is for the piping of the Central Canal. They did get their funding authorized by Congress. So now they're moving forward with that project, and the next step is bidding out the project, and then hopefully this fall they're looking at construction of the project. So for that they need a they need an engineer on board for both of those parts of this project. So this agreement is with JUB Engineers. They're the engineers that designed the project, and part of that contract was that they would be the engineer for the bidding phase and the engineer for the construction services as well. So that's what this amendment to the contract does. And so the county, as the sponsoring government agency, has to approve and sign this contract amendment.
And
Go ahead.
we, as a county, I just want to clarify, we have no money involved in this project. It's, they had to have us as a sponsor, and so just to make sure.
Yeah, this part of the project is the canal company is paying any match monies or any additional monies that are required to pipe the canal. The
That was
county's
my
not paying
same
any.
question as a sponsor, John Sturmer. Does that mean we can't be held liable for any of these amounts? Let's say something happened and the canal company couldn't pay them. Are we on the hook then? Or how does that work?
If your question is on financial liability for the construction of the project, no.
Okay, we can't be held liable for any of that. Okay,
There are other parts of the project that are county projects. But this part, the piping of the canal, is not
okay,
it's
and
not
that's
part
in
of
the
that.
agreement.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. Any further questions, comments? Call for a vote.
I would make a motion, we approve the contract amendment for the Ashley Valley Watershed and Canal Piping Project as presented.
Second.
Vote.
Aye?
Aye.
Aye. All right, ordinance 06032401. That's also you, sir.
Yeah, so this is an ordinance making a small change to our flag lot requirements. The change is under item G, under 17.27.110 in our county code. And it's increasing the size of a parcel to be divided to where it doesn't have to meet the greater requirements of having a wider right-of-way and dedicating that right-of-way for a future road. So it takes the size from 5 times the size to 5 acres or 5 times the size, whichever is greater. So the smaller acreage lots would be under that 5 acres. So that it makes it more viable that it could be subdivided into more lots. If you just have 1.5 acres or 2 acres, chances are it's probably not going to divide into any more than just 2 lots anyway. So So that's the change that Planning Commission has recommended. It did come from the Planning Commission on a unanimous vote after public hearings.
Yeah, we did discuss this yesterday, and I think, if I'm understanding this correctly, it just removes some of those more stringent restrictions on any of the smaller parcels, correct?
Right, and it will keep them to the basically the same restrictions that the county's had in place since like 2007. So,
Okay,
Comments, questions?
no?
Call for a motion.
I would make a motion that we approve ordinance number 06-03-202401. It's the amendments to chapter 17.27.110, flag lots, as presented.
Second.
Call for a vote.
Aye.
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 All right, thanks, Matt.
all right, thank you.
Okay, we'll be tabling item 14, privacy compliance plan. But Tanya, you've got the other two there.
Okay, are we gonna start with policy 310 or policy 460? Which policy?
310's first on the hit list here.
Okay, policy 310. All right, then let me provide you this as well.
Thank you.
Okay, so policy 310, our compensation policy, we're addressing today what we spoke about in the work session yesterday, is the service award. We have, what I'm asking is a couple of things. First of all, the service award 10A is that the language in A be modified so that the employees are able to continue to receive their career service awards at the 5-year increments throughout their service throughout the county, whether that be 5 years or that be 40-plus years throughout their service. The original language of the service award also did include the appointed elected officials as well as part of the original language when the policy was taken into change in 2019. So in section A, that has that, you'll notice where it says appointed elected. I had some conversations yesterday and today with elected officials as well, and they had pressed that I also acknowledge that as they are serving the community as elected officials, and would like that to be acknowledged as far as the what they're doing for our community and be seen and acknowledged in the career service section of the policy as well. On that list, you'll see the names of the elected officials that would have received career service awards throughout this time, and what their amounts would have been, along with the employees that from 2019 forward would have received career service awards anywhere from 35 years of service up through the 25 years, and what those awards would have amounted to. So there are, I believe, 5 of the elected officials seated here today, and then we have 4 employees that would have received, that have hit that 25-year plus mark of, well, one of our elected officials was at a 5-year mark. That was not included because of the change of the policy. So just bringing that forward and requesting that that be considered. And that's what I have. So what are your bringing I know that might be a bit of a curveball, because the section of the elected officials, bringing that in, I know I've had conversations with the commission, and that's been a little back and forth. I know that we have some commission that agree, some commission that disagree. So I felt like the best way to address that was to bring it forward today and allow you to either have the allow them to speak and provide them that opportunity, as they are elected officials as well, and then go ahead and bring it forward as a vote.
Comments, questions?
One thing I know, anyway, correct me, I don't know if you would know, but this was not the 25 years, but the elected officials had been included previously, and then they were removed.
Yes, they were.
correct?
It was the original part of this policy. It was the elected officials were receiving the career service awards.
The only comments I'd have is, we just raised the taxes in Uintah County, $5 million. You're willing to go ahead and put out into bonus money, add additional bonus money into this. I just kind of would like us to take a step back and realize what the citizens of Uintah County are going through. It's get in the community and see what they are doing and how they're doing. Mike said the other day we had a $7.9 million deficit. I think what was it, 7.4. Does that take into consideration of any of this? He said I don't know how we got running an upside down 7.4 million to year to date, but that's what he said. And so now you're wanting to bring forth more bonus money? I just can't agree with it.
Comment?
I'm sorry, I'm adding.
Right.
Okay.
About $8,000 real fast on the one.
Well, I got a total of 20,424.05. If we included the elected officials, that's a total for these people. Now, one thing to note also is that we already offer this to our employees.
Right.
It only ran through the 20 years, and we felt like that was a little short, because some of our employees, as evidenced here,
Right.
all the employees are actually above the 20-year mark.
Right, but the reason why I also brought those names forward are that from 2019 until now, if you look at the list, we have 4 employees that have exceeded that timeline. So it's, if you, looking at that from 2019 to 2024, we have 4 employees that have gone beyond the 20-year mark. So to not acknowledge those individual employees that have gone ahead and stayed with our county from 30 years to 35 years, it's not as though you have 30, 40, 50, 60 employees that are continuing to stay. It's that, that 1, 2, 3, 4 employees over that span of a timeline. It's not a substantial amount of money, but it's a group of employees that are not providing that service award, right? That you're not saying, thank you for that 35 years, thank you for that 40 years.
I know that the career service, to me, it didn't make sense that we wouldn't reward them for continuing work here at the county, where we will reward them up to 20 years. That's just why we had talked about extending it out for their loyal service to the county.
I know that the big question on the table was when because it said the career service and appointed, the question that was going to be the hot topic button, and I'm just the elephant in the room was with putting the elected officials back in that language.
As I remember reading that, Tanya, which you're more current than I am, they were never included.
Yeah.
the original one, but maybe I'm wrong, but I.
Yep, it read career service appointed elected official. That's why they were had been receiving them previously. That's the reason why I
How come
chose
I
to
don't
put
get
it in
one
there.
then?
Because you chose,
Yeah, what? You've been 5 years,
well,
but I just want to make sure everybody knows that my name is not on there. And I totally disagree with elected officials, and don't think it is right. We signed up the job to do the job for what we was on the paperwork when we signed up, and you know. But anyway,
Okay, do we have a motion?
I'm sorry, I just didn't know, I thought you were gonna say something, but.
No, I will say something, though. For all the years I spent with the county, that was an added incentive to spend more time with the county, even though it was a very small stipend compared to what my salary was at the time, and still is. I feel that the majority, well, not even the majority, everybody on this list elected, started out as an hourly employee with the county. They were brave enough to step forward when the opening came to become department heads and elected officials. I think they should be rewarded for their service. I think that if you were in another company, oil field company or something, this bonus is about what one person would get, entirely what the 20,000, 424, 25 is. I think that it needs to be pointed out that the elected officials have not received pay raises. Inflation has gone up over 22%, according to the news, the last I heard, in the last 5 years, and yet their salaries remain the same. I think that they've well earned it, as well as the hourly employees. I don't think there's any reason that we should not go forth with this. I agree a little bit with, we just put a 0.3% tax on sales. However, I feel that was necessary because most of that money is going to come from tourists. We have missed the big tourist season this year. But if it goes forth next year, I think we're going to see a lot of money that comes in that won't require that we raise taxes. And I think that's one of the things we need to think about and look at, is do we want to keep our career service people here, to keep them doing what they do so well, because it's a lot of experience. I mean, you look at these numbers, and I'm going to cheat a little bit because I'm going to pick on one person who's only been here 5 years, but his experience is about 40 years, 30 years now. And the average is what, 30, 35, 25, 25, 35, 25, you know.
Years.
That's a heck of a lot of experience, and that's pretty cheap to keep somebody that experienced. That's my 6 cents worth.
Well, the other thing is, I'm not aware of the reasoning behind removing it, so, do you know?
well, we removed it because we didn't have the money at the time being to do it. We was in the economy was in the tank, and we just did that, said up to 20 years it was going to stay there. You know, that my understanding was that elected officials, I thought, wasn't included, and it was only implemented up to 20 years, and originally, and we didn't remove anything except elected officials. It had only been implemented for the first 20 years, and we found some mistakes where they'd went ahead and paid people that'd been 25, but it was only implemented up for 20 years in the original balance beginning, and I'm going to have to do my research, but I was almost positive that it never was included in elected officials because there's a lot that hadn't been paid to there if there was, you know.
Can you get your research done in a week?
so there were Brad's I believe he had
But I just know that.
just this past timeline, he would have had an opportunity going into the 5th year. But but I can't remember the timeline. I don't believe if he would have been eligible for it, and that would have been at the timeline when we would have been changing the elected official time, because it would have been that 4 years out as elected official and then moving into that next term. So that would have been that when he'd been eligible, but we would have changed, the policy would have changed at that point in time, would have gone into that. And so that's where that would have happened. And as far as the elected officials, it was the agreement of this sitting commission that, along with the other paragraph that was placed into the policy at the time as well, that section 2 of elected officials, that was the going theme and thought of the elected officials' compensation at the time.
I would suggest you really look into the elected officials part as far as being, is it legal?
Can I offer this, just since we're 45 minutes into the afternoon session? What was presented in the work session meeting was what was presented was to take the year of service award and run that through to 40 years, keeping it at 3% after,
20.
I don't have it in front of me, after 20 years.
Yeah, 3% plus.
So they would still receive that. That's what was presented in the work session. The conversation for the elected officials being included, I understand where you're coming from, Tanya. You're presenting it, and everything's okay legally to do that in this meeting. But where the commission didn't have a chance to be able to discuss that in the work session, would it be appropriate to just pull that part out? Let's deal with the part that was presented in work session, so that can come to a vote and we get a conclusion on that. And then if the commission wants to have this as a further discussion, on the elected officials, we could get that into a work session.
Well, I think I'm not sure as an elected official that, I don't know, with just going through a tax increase, I don't know that Mike Wilkins wants his name out there, that he just took a $2,837 bonus. Wendy Long at $2,642, Steve Labram $1,787. Are these people in agreement with this? Barbara Semper $2,642. Bonuses, Brenda McDonald $2,642. Are these elected officials, are they telling you that they want this?
I believe that they feel that they have served their community for 20, 30, 35 years, and it's a part of their service.
So,
So
Mr.
I
Chair,
don't believe
can we address the comment that I made?
Yeah.
I think Commissioner Horrocks is raising valid points with him sitting as a commissioner, right? Each commissioner can express those views, but where it wasn't discussed in the work session, and the ability to have that very thorough discussion and then bring it to the regularly scheduled session on a Tuesday afternoon, I'm just suggesting that instead of spending that time where we're not prepared to pull up the old documents and figure all that stuff out, would it be more appropriate to deal with what was presented in the work session, come to a resolution on that, and then questions that Commissioner Horrocks has on the elected officials can be addressed and then dealt with at a different commission meeting? I mean, we can keep discussing it. I'm just wondering if we're bogging down one issue, and maybe rightfully so, I don't know. I'm not weighing in on the policy, right? I'm just weighing in on the function of the meetings and moving one item forward if it's getting hung up by a different item. And so just wanted to offer that.
Are you good with that?
I would do that because we don't have 2 meetings at the end of this month, so I would make a motion that we approve the compensation that was outlined in the work session yesterday, that does not include the elected officials, only if that is discussed next Monday, next Monday's work session, and then preferably on Tuesdays.
And that would be the authority of the chair to ask the clerk's office to put that on
So
the
it
agenda.
doesn't
I will
push
be out
this
of town. I'm out of town next week, just FYI.
Okay, on the 10th and 11th? Yes. Both days?
I don't think there's a hurry on it. It's
So
going to take
that's why.
place. If we vote on it, no matter what, if it's in June or July, it doesn't change anything, does it?
No.
I don't know. I don't know if there's any other, if that would change anything.
No, the numbers are still the same. I mean, the awards have already been passed, so their timelines, those would stay the same.
I do remember listening to a person from the public last week talking about that we don't pay enough to our employees, and that thought we ought to pay them more instead of when we talked about the 401K, I believe or the HSA or the 401K, that we don't pay them enough and that they would rather see us put it in their salaries. The thing with putting it in a salary is that is ongoing. Once you do that, it's from here forward. When you're doing something like these, it's a one-time thing that
Well,
rewards
it's
them.
every 5 years for every employee that's been here. It's ongoing just as much, you know. It doesn't stop. 401Ks don't stop. You know,
Well, we can stop 401Ks.
I'm just saying it's
Yeah,
not
but it's-
every pay period.
we're sitting there raising taxes and we're adding these
Okay.
benefits back
The
in.
question is, do we want to go forth with the hourlies or not?
That was my motion.
There's a motion
To
Right-
go
right
forth
now.
with the hourly,
Yes, as presented.
where she is
here
not
with
going to
that.
be here on Monday. Do you want to change your motion so that's not including going on a work session Monday if she's not going to be here?
I would rather have her here for the discussion, so it would be put out further. I'm okay with amending that.
Okay.
Repeat your motion.
So my motion would be to go ahead and approve what was presented at the work session yesterday that did not include the elected officials, but to bring it up on a future, I want it brought up on a future agenda, a work session.
Yeah, we just raised the taxes $5 million and we're giving out bonuses. I just can't second it.
Well, it was just to be brought up on a future work session, which we don't approve in a work session.
Yeah,
It
but
was
you're
to
talking
have
about
further
approving
discussion.
The yearly ones.
Yes,
Yeah,
just,
and I'm just saying, I can't approve that motion if that's what you're saying.
oh, for the employee?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Okay. That will then be discussion for later time. All right.
So
Do
310
we have
is,
if you didn't want to second it, well, we can go for a vote, I guess. We don't have to have a second, but we can have a second. I'm gonna say, we're gonna just call it sixes right now. We will discuss this in another work session when we have all the information available, which will include our taxes and everything else that we should be getting back from our audit sometime at the end of the month, I hope.
so
that will
what
help us
information do
considerably.
you want from me? What is it that I can provide?
Probably a little bit more history on elected, I mean, you've said it. If there's anything more.
We have documentation of the old rules.
So the previous policy before it was changed?
Probably.
That would be very helpful,
Okay.
okay? All right.
So, scuttle's a great word, but if you can just make sure it says that it's tabled to a future date. I got the intent, but I just want to make sure that Ty got that in the minute.
Keep me honest, you two. Okay, policy 460, employee benefits.
Okay, so this is HSA, and in this section B, it is just some administrative language to clarify the match dollar for dollar, so that the HSA contributions can be matched each pay period for the employees who are contributing into their accounts. It would not require that the employee meet a certain dollar before they are provided a match by the county. So if, as an example, if an employee is able to put in $30 per pay period, the county would match that $30 each pay period, and they would not be required to meet $1,500 as a single or $3,000 as a two-party or a family. The county would simply match that up to the maximum of the $550 for a single and up to the $1,100 for the two-party and for the family.
So in the old HSA, we had to come up with the first 1,500. Then we would match how much?
You would match the $1,100 Well, for the 1,500, you would match $550 for a single, and you would match $1,100 for a two-party and $1,100 for a family.
So now we're just doing away with it and just gonna give 100% match.
Just match dollar for dollar. That was the,
What's the cost gonna be?
it will depend
How much
on
are
the,
we adding more for the taxpayer to come up with and pay?
it will depend on what your employees are contributing and who is contributing. Right now, we have a few employees that are only able to contribute $30 a pay period into their HSA account. They're not financially able to come up with the $62.50, or they're not financially able as a family to come up with the $125 a pay period. And so we're trying to, because they are, as you've said, financially not capable of being able to do that. And so as a county, we would like to give them that dollar for dollar $30 match. And so we're to build up that HSA to help cover the burden of the health care.
Well, I think we, that we need to look into that. First, I'd like a cost. Second off is, I have never seen out there in the business world where anybody, if they had an HSA, they were blessed, but never matched with money. I think the benefit packages here, I think would be, I think the breakdown of the benefit packages and the vacation days and the health insurance and the retirement, if the public truly knew what was going on here.
It's on our website.
Well, yeah, but they don't dig into it, but I'm saying if it, and I think if the public truly knew what was going on, they would be as shocked.
Well,
I
there
was
are
going to
many-
say, this actually isn't changing any
No.
amounts. This doesn't change any. No,
did
this
up
was
till
already in,
1,500.
this was already in there. It was just misunderstood.
Changing verbiage.
Yeah, it was misunderstood.
Up until now, they had put 1,500 of my money in before you matched anything. But we are changing it, or misunderstood, but it's still going to cost the taxpayers more money.
Well, no, I'm saying this was already passed. When did we pass this actually? Last budget?
Yeah.
We passed it with
Yeah,
the
well,
last
yeah.
budget. This isn't
Okay,
changing
well,
those
then-
amounts at all.
I'm just not agreeing with it. I'm just not saying it's to go forward with it. If it's put in the budget, I didn't second the budget. I didn't motion to approve the budget, but it's just a package that is unbelievable for the businessman to conceive that what we are doing down here. And if people, you need to.
I
check
believe
out-
you're right, 100%. If people knew exactly what we were doing down here, they would be astounded. Because we got employees that are dedicated down
Oh,
here
I'm not
doing their
saying
job
that.
for nothing.
I'm not saying that. And
If you
boy,
look at
need
the
to
average
check the
wages
word.
right now, I mean, when I drive through Taco Bell and they offer a matching 401K, that tells me that there's a lot more out there than what we're getting told or you're getting told. There's
Well,
not one trucking company right now that I'm aware of that will not provide you with everything that we provide, including the retirement package, plus
I would-
$100,000 a year.
I would make you an offer to go for a ride with me. And we'll just go see what these people tell you. Both of
Works
you.
for me.
Both of you. I would make that offer to you and be glad to set it up and go around and, but anyway, I have got a doctor's appointment right now.
Okay.
All right.
This one, I don't have a problem with because it's what was approved. I thought this specific was approved outside the budget. Am I wrong? I believe this was approved outside the budget, but then, of course, it was included when we did the budget for this year. And I'd have to look back at the paperwork because I thought we all
This was
three
approved
voted for it.
when we approved the insurance company we were
It
going
was
to.
Yes.
it was the line that did not get extracted, and it was a misinterpretation of that. So that was when the language of dollar for dollar was put in to the policy.
That was in
That was
there.
the intent
Right.
of the contribution at the time.
That's the way I understood it, explained to us back when we did that, when we did the insurance and approved all the insurance. If I'm wrong, I'm happy to look at it again, but I thought this was already approved. This was just correcting verbiage because it was being misunderstood.
Right.
Is that correct?
Yes, that's what I had talked to you about. And then also the requests for those employees that hadn't received that dollar-for-dollar match since the beginning of the year to have that retroed back, so they were able to receive that. So this was on, and this was, I'll take that hit, this is on me, that, for that language that was in there, so that they weren't able to receive that match money that way, that didn't get taken out, because that was the intent of the commission's understanding and what my intent was. So for the policy to not have, have not had that pulled out that was on me.
Well, I think
So-
it was just a misunderstanding, and we wanted to clarify that.
Right.
And so we were just trying to clarify the language.
Yeah.
As far as no, this does not change any amounts that we had already previously approved. This just clarified it.
Mr. Wilkins?
That is correct, Commissioners. This was actually adopted in a separate meeting, was included in the budget. Our office is administrating that the match didn't happen until after they made their $1,500 match, then we'd match.
Right.
This is fixing it so that those that have put their $30 in,
Right.
they will get that $30.
Right.
They won't get any more than, they'll get their $1,500 they would have got anyway, but
Right.
they'll get that they'll get that $30 a payday, rather than them having to put the $1,500 before they ever get anything matched.
Right.
Right.
They would get it.
And
that.
that's the way I understood it when we approved this, and I just want to honor that.
Right, and so that's why I think this is,
This
she
is
hasn't
just
made it very big
clarifying
so I
it.
can see it, but I
Oh,
think that's
sorry.
what's been happening, is make
There
it
you
more
go. That
clarified
big.
that, I got my glasses, but it's way over
There you
there
go.
now.
Sorry, is
So
that better?
I think she's doing it now to where it is hopefully more explanatory. The county's gonna put $1,500. If the employee put $30, we're gonna match that $30, up to the max.
Okay, Commissioner Horrocks excused himself. He's got an appointment he's got to make right now. He's actually late. My opinion is this is just a verbiage change. My recollection was exactly, it was as it was explained originally. The money was already budgeted for all of this, and all they're doing is clarifying it because there was that confusing, I guess,
Yeah,
verbiage in there that we needed to clarify.
right. We just, this way, the Clerk-Auditor's office can just go back and retro those contributions and know that the policy clearly states that. So that's the only thing that we're trying to accomplish here with this.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
I would make a motion that we approve policy 460, the employee benefits, as presented.
And I'll concur and call for a vote.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we want
Okay.
to go back?
Anything else?
That's it.
Now it's time for public comment. Public comment is a time for public comment, not public debate. The county will listen to comments made and take them into consideration. The county will not be responsible for two comments or answering questions. Comments made might not be something the county has the power to act on. This is a recorded public meeting. If someone would like to make a comment, they will need to wait until the microphone is available and state their name for the record. Please be respectful, no interrupting. Please wait your turn. Total 15 minutes will be allocated with public comment. Speaker will have 3 minutes. If we have anybody who'd like to make a public comment, please come forth. Yes, ma'am. Please state your name when you get to the microphone.
Hello, my name's Jody Shull, and just as I'm sitting here, I just made a couple of notes that kind of were important to me. That the first one I wrote down is you can't give what you don't have. If we don't have the money, we can't give it, no matter how deserving someone might be. And in my personal opinion, I don't approve of giving elected officials bonuses. They get paid quite a bit in our particular county. I think if last time I saw, we were like the second highest paid commissioners and treasurer and those kinds of offices. So I don't think they need bonuses. When I owned a business, my last point here, my staff got bonuses as we did well. So maybe you could get an incentive for people, instead of how many years they're here, we get bonuses for if our tax increases so much through the tourism or something. Just my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Hello there.
Deanna Nyberg, Community Development. In yesterday's work session, we discussed the Uintah County Boundary Commission, and Commissioner Horks made it aware, I guess, that he would like it to be made aware to the public that we are reinstating the Boundary Commission. So I guess just going over that again, the role of the Boundary Commission is to hear and decide on protests against annexation. Uintah County, the county commissioners will need to appoint 2 members and 1 alternate, all being elected officers. And then 2 more members will come from the 3 cities and another alternate, and then those members will decide on 3 more members from the community, from citizens of the county. So just making the public aware of that.
So
Thank
it's
you.
a total of,
7 members total and 3 alternates.
okay, 7
So-
plus 3 alternates.
Mm-hmm.
And the alternates, how do we decide the alternates?
So the county commissioners will appoint 2 members and 1 alternate. The cities combined will appoint 2 members and 1 alternate. And then the 4 full members will appoint 3 more members and 1 alternate.
My numbers aren't adding up.
So 3 from the county, 3 from the city, and 4 citizens.
But 3 from each city, you said?
No, 3 total combined.
3
So the
from
3 cities combined.
Then? The
Yes.
cities each, I mean,
Right.
they together appoint 3.
Yeah, the 3
Okay.
cities combined
That's
will
where I was
appoint
not
3
getting my
total.
numbers to add up.
Okay,
Okay.
sorry about that.
Thank you.
Okay,
for
and that's not
clarifying.
our decision on what's on the board. That's a state law, is that correct?
Yeah, the state law, yeah. Well, let's see. As far as the numbers of people.
Elected officials, though.
Right,
The elected officials part,
yes.
that is under the
Is that
state law.
state or county? Okay.
No, it
State
is
law.
state.
That's not,
So we'll clarify that.
okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Yeah, we would also like to know if any of the elected officials would be interested in serving on that Boundary Commission. Looks like 3 are volunteering back there.
That's what it looks like to me, too.
Okay.
All right, I do want to point out that we do have work sessions on Mondays at 9 a.m. at the commission chambers upstairs. Public is definitely welcome. That's when we discuss most of these things, so we don't have a half-a-day meeting. Please bring your thoughts if you're interested. You're all welcome. Yes, the public's allowed to speak at the time.
Can I?
Yes, you may.
I may, thank you. I also wanted to bring up that in our work session yesterday, there was a group that has come to us before the work session and is interested in looking at a different form of government for the county. And so we are exploring that, and we are having that on next week's work session. So on the 3rd, it is scheduled to be at the end of the work session, so we will have plenty of time to discuss it for anyone who wants to stay and discuss that and pros, cons, options, just information sharing, and on the 10th.
Yeah, can we do it on the 10th instead of the 3rd?
What did I say, the 3rd?
Third, yeah.
I'm sorry, the 10th.
That's what I was looking up to make sure.
Next Monday at the 9 a.m. work session. And also, we would like to schedule another meeting after that, at least to have in the evening, so that we can hopefully involve more of the public and invite them to come to that one as well. I would like to have a lot more discussion before we decide if we want to move forward with a study of the plan. I think they call it a plan. Is that correct, Sturmer? It's not a study, it's a plan,
It's called an optional plan. Yeah.
an optional plan. So we want to get the community involved, invite you to come to any of the meetings you can, and we'll try to get the information out more when we schedule another meeting after next week.
Okay. Anything else?
Comments? Is it still public comments?
Yeah, we've still got public comments. Would you like to make one?
Jeff Scholl. My thoughts are all over the place for this. My main concern is Mr. Horrocks brought up a point again and again and again. We have, or at least you guys have, approved a tax increase of about $500,000, which was supposed to be earmarked for law enforcement. Now that's in place, what I am hearing is you're looking for ways to spend something else. I'm really concerned the fact that you guys have done this with the anticipation that you can rob Peter to pay Paul, that you can pull back some of that law enforcement money and appropriations to spend elsewhere. As far as the budget things go, I was out in the community over the last couple of weeks setting up an event for some political endeavors. And I was told by more than one individual that there's county employees that received as much as a $2 an hour raise. These are entry-level employees, not high-level employees. And that was after the tax increase was taken care of. I'm really disappointed that we've got one commissioner that can't get enough money to spend. We've got another commissioner that's trying to hold the line on spending. And we've got a third commissioner that tends to blow whichever way the wind blows. We've got an election in November, and I'm really sorry to say that the one that's been holding the line on the elections and on the budgets is going to be the one that's office is going to be replaced. I truly hope that some of these candidates that are running for county commissioner are going to have the spine and the integrity and the fortitude to hold the line on the spending, because this has gone out completely out of hand. As was mentioned before, you guys are being overpaid as county commissioners. You guys should be paying what the par is. I worked for a quasi-government agency for 31 years. Every time we came due for contract, we were told again and again and again, you guys will make what's average or what's par for that position. And studies were gone in regions and through other government entities to find out what that par was. We weren't paid more, we weren't paid less, we were paid what par is. And I think it's about time you guys need to hold the line on that. If you have a commissioner salary at $50,000 par for the state, that's what you guys should be paid. If you have an auditor that's $75,000 statewide, that's what that auditor should be paid. No more, no less. You shouldn't be looking for ways to make more money on taxpayers' backs. And I hope and pray that these guys that are running for offices will sit in that seat and tell the same thing that Brad Horrocks has been telling you again and again and again, and you ignore it.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. Motion?
Motion to adjourn.
We're adjourned.